are difficult things with Nuxt?
Well, if you understand the concept, then there's nothing that is difficult. Actually, everything is easy. But if you don't understand something, then there's nothing more difficult than that. Like that. The concept is like that.
Okay, what other things should I be learning?
You should be learning everything. I mean, whatever Nuxt offers, you must have the the idea and understanding of all those things. And there might be cases where you will need some of the features, and you will not need some of the features. So it will depend on your project structure, your project requirement, and everything.
Okay.
So it's better that you know everything, but it's not necessary that you have to use all the features every time.
Of course, of course.
Yeah, like that. So plugin and middleware are two important features, and plugin I have seen in my career that it's frequently used. I mean, if you want to develop something, then the chances are very high that you will always encounter plugins in your project. But middleware is something which is very rarely used. I mean, this is not something that is very often used. But it's a very good idea to know what middleware is and when you can use it, so that if the the situation demands, then you can you already know what is middleware and you can already implement it like that. Okay, so the main thing that plugin does for us is to give us the ability to use external packages or third-party modules in our application. So let me give you an example. Let me create a folder called plugins. Plugins, plugins. So we will keep all our plugins in this folder.
Sure.
Now, with this folder, you will also need something in your Nuxt config.js. And by the way, this is totally for Nuxt 2. In Nuxt 3, plugin is totally a different thing. So you just keep in mind that whatever you are learning today only applies to Nuxt 2, doesn't apply to Nuxt 3 at all. Okay. So think for an example, we would like to use a third-party package. And which package we can think of right now? For example, there is a package called Split.js. Let me show you that so you will understand. I mean, I will try to show you an example of something complicated. Then the easier things you will easily understand them.
Okay.
If you understand the difficult, how to how to implement something difficult, then the less difficult things will be easier to implement, like that. So here, if we go to Split documentation, this will always happen with you, is that you, whenever you want to use any third-party library or third-party module in your system, then there must be some kind of documentation available for that. So you will always find the steps required to to implement that module in your system.
Okay.
So the first thing that you have to do is to find that instruction of that module documentation from that module documentation and follow the proper steps.
Is there a library? Is there a library for plugins?
No, it's not. There is no library for plugins. Actually, plugins doesn't need any library.
Okay.
I mean, for example, you see this code. Let me zoom in a little bit, then you'll see better.
Yes.
You see this code written here. So the plugin is telling me that if I want to use this plugin in a Vue application, not Nuxt application, in a Vue application, then I have to follow these steps.
Yes.
Now the problem is in Nuxt.js, we don't have anything called app.view.
No.
But in Vue.js, we have something called app.view.
Yes.
Correct. So
yes.
this is the place where plugins actually play a very important role. So in almost all the third-party modules available there, you will find this kind of example of implementing them, where you will need an app.view file to to bring that module in your application. You understand what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So plugin will allow us to bypass this system, but still use this third-party module in our application. So now I will show you how we will implement this. I mean, we will bypass this code, but still we will allow this module to run in our application. That's our primary target.
Yes.
So in plugin, for this specific module, we will create one JS file, splite.js. Okay.
Yes.
Now we are actually gone from here. So here is view splite, as you can see. So we have come to that page again. So what we will do is that we will copy this code and we will paste here. Now here's the tricky part, or here's the not tricky part. I mean, here's the part which you should understand properly. There's one there's one problem with this module, is that this module has two versions. You see, there's version 4 and there is another version which is version 3, which is a little bit earlier version.
Yes.
So what they are telling us is that version 4 is only for Vue 3, and if we want to use this module with version with Vue 2 or Nuxt 2, then we have to go to version 3. I mean, we cannot use version 4 directly with Nuxt 2 or Vue 2.
Okay.
So how do I know that? I know that because I have read the documentation. So this kind of information you will always find in the documentation itself. So if you go to, for example, let me go to Vue Splite again, and you see in the first line it is written that Vue Splite is a Vue 3 component for a slide or carousel. You are reading documentation for this version. The old documentation is here, and upgrade old documentation, check the migration from V3.
Okay.
So from this line of text, what I understood is that this module will only work with Vue 3. It will not work in our application because we are using Vue 2 with Nuxt 2.
Okay.
So what we will do is we will go back to the old documentation. And now we are actually back to the old documentation, and this is the this is the code snippet that they have given us to use Vue Splite in our application. But it seems that it's still using Vue 3. This little version only supports Vue 3. Vuex 2, but it has the SSR issue. So Vue Splite Vue component of it. So this documentation is totally not correct. I mean, we will have to see how we can bypass this problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to npm.js. So normally in all other third-party modules, the instruction will be very straightforward. You will not have this kind of problems. You know that one version for Vue 3 and another version for Vue 2. This kind of problem are very uncommon in in all the modules. But I have chosen this specific modules in order to show you that you might encounter this kind of problem, and then what kind of steps you have to take. So we have come to npm and we will search for Splite. Splite.js here, and we have Splite, or more specifically, we will search for Vue Splite. As we can see here, the name of this package is Vue Splite.
Okay.
Yeah, so we will search for Vue Splite, SPLID Splite, and we have already found that package in npm. correct?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, so now when we go there, the npm website has some kind of problem today, looks like. Yeah. Let me try one more time. No, it's not coming. So what I wanted to show, yeah, what I wanted to show.
I usually try right click rather than thing. Maybe that may work.
Okay. Yeah, that worked. Okay, so here this is the latest version 0.6.7, and
Okay.
this version is for Vue 3 only. The latest version only supports Vue 3, as you can see, and they
Yes.
have written the old version 3.5 is for Vue 2.
Okay.
So that's that's the piece of information that actually we needed in order to implement this package in our application. So what we will do is that we will install this specific version in our application instead of installing the latest version.
Okay.
Otherwise, this application will not work in our application. So we will open a new terminal window, and there we will say that yarn add, and then this thing like that, and then the version number, which is 0.3.5. So add this. So this is the way you can actually, install a specific version of any npm package.
Okay.
Okay. So this package.
Say for example, you've installed this version 0.67.
Yeah.
And find errors. How do you uninstall it?
Well, let me show you. Once this finish, then I will show you the command. Okay. So in package.json, as you can see, this is the package that we just installed, and this is the version number.
Yes.
So what you have to do is that you have to copy this module, and here you can write yarn remove, and then the package name. This will remove this module from your application.
Okay, understood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have the correct version available right now, and if we go to versions history, then we can see that version 3.5 is this one.
Yes.
We can click on this version. There's nothing much written about it at the moment, but I know how to use it, so I will show you. The
Sure.
thing is that in Vue 3, this is the way of creating an app, a new Vue app. But in Vue 2, the thing is like this. You will import Vue from Vue like that.
Okay, yes.
And we don't have any app.vue, so we'll delete this line. Okay.
Yes.
And here, this was actually the syntax of Vue 3. So in Vue 2, what we'll do is vue.use, and there we will pass Vue slide like that. And there's another thing that we should bring from this, this documentation, that is the CSS file. They're telling that in order to use this slider, we will have to have some kind of CSS file from them. So we will import the minimum, the smallest file size which is available there, and we will just import it in between.
Okay.
So this is the thing that you are doing, which you are supposed to do in the app.vue file in your normal Vue application, not in the Nuxt application.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So you are doing that in your plugin instead of, as you don't have any app.view file here. So you are doing everything that was written in your documentation, in your third-party module documentation, that you are doing in your plugin file.
Okay.
You have created one file with that module name, and you have written the same text that you are supposed to write in the app.view file here, instead of writing in a app.view file.
Okay.
So now you have to connect, you have to connect this file to your application, and you will do that in your nuxt.config.js, where you have a plugin property. So here you just have to show the location of this file to this nuxt.config.js. So you say @ it's actually giving me auto suggestion. So in plugins folder, I have split.js file. Now, as soon as I click save, this plugin will be globally available in my whole application.
Sure.
Yeah. So now let me show you an example what this plugin does. I mean, how does it look? What we have achieved by implementing this plugin. So if we go to localhost now, then we already have one application. I think there's something in the index.view file which is not correct. That's why we are getting an error. In last tutorial, we did something, but we didn't save the changes maybe. Okay, let me go to the contact page. Maybe we will be able to avoid this error. No, cannot use import statement outside a module. Okay, so this is happening because of an import statement somewhere in our application, which we have written in the wrong place. It's like, okay, this is coming from split.js, as you can see from split.js. I think we have to rerun the server once. Let's see what happens. We still have that problem. Why we do have that problem? Let me comment out this line and then check. Okay. So something is not correct in this file. What could be? I don't see any, any problem with the syntax. Everything is correctly written. Okay, so this is our view, split.js, slide this status, slide this. This is file. That it's correctly written. Let's see which line is actually causing the problem. It works. Okay, so we are having some kind of problem from this line of code.
Right.
Yeah, but there shouldn't be any problem actually with this line of code. This is totally fine. I mean, totally perfectly written. Change the order a bit. Let's see if any changes. This, no. This. It's actually telling that this error is coming from inside this module. No, I mean, this is not actually from our code, but something is wrong with this module itself, where there is a, there is a
Conflict or error.
yeah, conflict or error is happening. So let me do one thing in order to try fixing this. Let me do one thing. And with that, let me show you a very important part of plugin, which is that you have two kinds of plugin. So what one kind of plugin you would like to run both on server side and on client side. You know that Nuxt is a SSR framework. So in a SSR framework, your advantage is that you are producing your HTML, CSS, JavaScript in the server side instead of rendering everything on the browser. So you have both the server and the browser available to you, and you can run these plugins specifically on both sides or only on the client side. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So in order to implement that, what you have to do is like this. You have to turn this import into an object, and you will write src or source to point out your file, and then you will write mode, and mode will be client in our case.
Okay.
So what we have told to Nuxt.js is that this plugin we want to use on client side only, which is on the browser only. We will never use this on our server side.
Server side.
Because this plugin uses window object, and window object is not available on server side. It's only available in the browser. So this is another thing, and as you can see, immediately the problem got solved. So this was actually the problem. So as this plugin was meant to be used on the client side only, but we were importing it on the server side as well. That's why we were having a conflict.
Okay.
Okay. So there will be many cases like this in your life, in your Nuxt journey, where you will find a lot of plugins or a lot of third-party modules which are meant to be run on browser only, on the client side only. In that case, this will be your go-to syntax.
Okay. Well done.
So yeah. So in contact, now what we are going to do is that we are going to create a div in order to use that plugin. And what we have achieved by using this plugin is that we have achieved the ability to use these two component globally in all our .vue files. So normally what we do is that when we want to use a component, we import that component here and then register that component in our component object, right?
Yes.
But here in this specific case, we don't have to do anything like that. We can use this directly. Slide like that. We actually don't want to use this. We don't want to use this before as well, because we are just showing an example of how this is done. We can write this test slide, and we can make another slide. We can write it test slide 1, test slide 2, test slide 3. So we have created 3 slides. Okay. And if we go to our application now and refresh it, then we can see that we have this, but we don't see the
Slides.
We don't see the slides. So we have to see what happened. I am getting an error. And the error is some kind of mistake in the syntax. So let me go to view slide one more time and see how it's written. It's slide, and then slide. Okay, so in what it's telling me is that instead of writing this like this, we have to use something like this. So what we're going to do is we are going to select all of them, and then we are going to write slide. And this we write slide and slide. Let me save it and see if we still have that error or not. Oh, sorry, I just commented out this line in the plugin, and I forgot to uncomment them. That was the problem. Now, even if we go back to the previous way of writing it, it still should work. So let me uncomment everything, undo everything, and then go back to our. And as you can see, we already have a slider.
Ah, yes.
We have a slider. If we click here, the slides are going like this. We have pagination here as well. So this is the way we have actually implemented a very complicated module in our system. But what I want to take away, I mean, you take away from here is that this is the general system of registering a third-party module into our application. So you, in general, in maximum cases, you will find it easier to do than this, than the way we have done it. So the documentation that the module will have, it will have clear instruction of doing this, and you just have to copy paste that code into your plugin folder. And what you have to do is that every instruction will have that this app.view part, because the documentations are written normally for Vue, not for Nuxt. Yeah, so it will have this part. What you will do is that you will delete this line, and instead of using app.use, you will use view.use, and you will be good to go.
Go over that last bit again. Show me that.
I'm showing you here. Normally it will be like this. Install import app from app.view,
which you remove.
Yeah, and then the line will be like app.use and then view slide, like that. So you don't have any app.view field.
Okay, so it will say app, which you don't have, so you remove that.
Yeah,
instead
so you will remove that. You will remove this line. Why it is not getting deleted? Yeah, and then this line. Instead, you will import view directly here, and you will use that view instead of app. So view.use and then the module
Yeah.
name.
Okay,
That.
I understand now.
As sometimes it will happen like this. For example, sometimes it will happen that you just have to register a component as a plugin. In that case, what you will do is that, for example, the component name, I mean, it will be written in the documentation. I'm just showing you. Okay.
Yes.
And here it will be like some module. Okay. Like that, some module. Then it wants you to, register that to the app. It will be like written like that, app.component, and then the component name like comp, and then the actual component name, which is
Yeah.
component name, like this. So what
Okay.
you have to do is that you will import Vue again, and you will use Vue.component in
I
this
understand
case.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the proper way of doing it. So this is the base case of plugin folder. So in Nuxt, we normally use this plugin folder in order to register third-party modules in our application. And you know that in a big application, we have to use a lot of third-party modules. And this is the place where we will try to, keep them organized.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can
And
you do?
there will be some third-party modules which actually will work in both places. In
Okay.
client side and server side. You don't have to do this extra part there. But if your plugin or if your module only needs to run on the client side, then you will have to remember this part
Yeah.
to make it more client.
Instead of a slider,
Yeah.
if you had a gallery,
Yeah.
do you know of a plugin for the gallery?
Gallery means, I mean, let me show this to you. If you mean something like that, this is a slider. This is a slider where
Padding.
the other two are, other two parts are available. This is some kind of gallery. So you have three
Yes.
of them, and here you have three of them with pagination. One slide per move. So here one slide will be gone per move, and here it will be multiple slide per move, like that. Then focus center. Now the focus is on the middle one, and here you have like this.
Okay.
See, and here you have like this kind of pagination.
Okay.
You
So
have like this.
if you grab one of the codes, how do you there? It says preview code and preview at the bottom.
Yeah, code. Yeah, you just have to see what kind of option it has passed to the slide component. So it's like, I mean, what this means is that in this page where we have used the slide component, here you can pass a prop called options. Okay.
Yes.
And you can pass a object here. So we will define that object here. For example, here we will define that object, and then here we can say like type, and we can say like slide. So you have two type of slider available here. So you can say slider, a slide or loop, this kind of things you can say. Then you can say per page 3. If I say per page 3, then all my 3 slider will be shown here, as you can see.
Oh, right. Yes.
Okay, so if you say per page 2, then it will show 2 of them. And if you click on this button, then another will come like this. Then you can say per, sorry, I have clicked the wrong file. So you have say per move 1. So now in each click, one item will be will be transitioned like that. But if you write it like 2, then in each click 2 of them will be
Sure.
2 will be 2 of them will go like that. So this way you can use this this properties here. Like here it's telling the direction, TTB, height, 10 rem. So you can use a lot of properties there from this specific slider slider solution. You have a lot of solution available over the internet. This is one of the thing which I like so much. That is why I use it. And if anybody asks me for any recommendation, then I never hesitate to recommend this slider to others. So if you
Sure.
go, for example, here you have options, and if you go to this option, then you will see all the properties that you can use in that option object. So here you have like direction, you have like wheel, you have like lazy load, you have like autoplay, interval. Autoplay will enable you autoplaying that slider,
Yeah.
with
Okay.
a set interval like that.
Yes.
Then no drag, so drag will be disabled. And then you can use custom easing function. You can disable pagination or disable arrows. For example, that we have now
Yes.
pagination and arrows both available. Maybe we want to disable one of them. So what we will do is that we will say arrows and then false, like that. And those arrows are gone now. We only have the pagination, like that.
Pagination.
Yeah, and if we would like to disable this pagination as well, then we would say pagination false. That's all.
Yeah.
So this is some. I mean, this is the main thing that I wanted to show you, is that how to use plugin in order to implement third-party modules in your system, in your Nuxt system, especially in Nuxt 2. This is not applicable in Nuxt 3 at all. So this is for Nuxt 2, and all the third-party modules that you are going to use, you will have similar kind of approach. So this is the basic use of plugins folder in Nuxt 2.
Okay. We'll do this in Nuxt 3 next week, if that's all right.
Yeah, of course, no problem. We'll do it
So,
in Nuxt
because
3.
you said it's different in Nuxt 3.
Yeah, it's different. Plugins is totally a different thing in Nuxt 3. You still can use third-party modules using plugins, but the syntax, the way of writing those code is totally different. So you cannot copy this code and use in a Nuxt 3 project.
Yes.
Like that. Okay. Then we were supposed to discuss middleware today. So let me show you an example of middleware. How we use middleware. So to use middleware, what we do is that we create a folder called middlewares, like that. Not middleware. And then here we can create our JavaScript file. For example, we want to create one file called auth.js. Okay, or rather actually small letter auth.js. So what we want to do, we want to run this, whatever we will write here, we want that code runs before every route, before executing every route.
Yes.
So this is why we called it auth.js. So this will, whenever a user will come to our website, whatever the route is, doesn't matter, this function will run. And if we want to do something after making sure that whatever we wanted to do, that is okay or that is correct, then we will let the user to proceed. Otherwise we will block the user. So from here we can do actually many kind of things. Let me show you one example here. So here what you have to do is you have to export a function. Export default function, and then you will write a function. And here you will have something called context, not content, context. So context is an object of Nuxt.js. Let me show you what this has. So Nuxt context object. This is the context. So in context, you have these things available. So as you can see, many important things are available here. For example, store, for example, route, params, query, available in your context object. So if you want to use some of them, for example, you want to use the route, then what you can do, you can say route equal to context.route, like that. And then you have the router available in this function. If you want to use store, then you can say like const store equal to context.store.
Sure.
You understand what I mean?
Yes.
You have a better way to do it. Instead of writing this, what you can do, you can destructure from here, like store, whatever you need, route,
Yes. Yeah.
like that. So what we want to do is that we want to log something that you are, or okay, you are trying to access a page or access this page. We can say this page, and then we can say route.fullpath or actually route.path, like that. So this function will execute in every page, and I mean before before going into every page. So and this will run before this page appears. So
Okay.
this page will appear after running that function in
So
our application.
it wouldn't be helpful for SEO, would it?
No, this is not actually, no.
It won't
This will
affect
not,
that.
no, it will not affect the SEO. This is
Okay.
actually happening server side, you can say.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, and you will have good control over it. For example,
Okay.
that you want to guard some routes, that if the type is admin, then only you want to show a few pages.
Sure.
If the type is not admin, in that case, you want the user to redirect to another page.
So
You
that
understand
would
what
be,
I mean?
so middleware would be useful for admins, using admin for admin, not all users.
Yeah, this is just an example. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, so you can use middleware for many different purposes, but this is an example, and normally this is a very good example actually, because middlewares are used a lot in order to implement permissions in your project.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, you can guard some of your routes with the help of middleware, and I'm going to show you this right now. So now if we refresh this page, nothing will happen. You will not see this middleware in action. So you have to actually connect this middleware to your application, and you have two ways to do this. Okay, so for
Sure.
example, that you want this middleware to run in every route, then you will register it in your nuxt.config.js. But you want to run it in only in some specific pages, then you can also register them in your pages. So let me show you how, I mean, what I mean by that. Here, when you have written a middleware named auth.js, then your middleware name is now auth. So the file name, you understand? Your middleware name will be auth. So wherever you will use this middleware, you will refer it by auth. So if you have another file named something.js, then this middleware name is actually something. So wherever in your application you want to access it, you have to write something as the name of this middleware.
Sure.
You understand that? Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So let me undo that. So auth, this middleware name is auth because our file name is auth. And what we want to do, we want to run it before every route. So what we will do in our Nuxt config.js, we will create a property called router. So router. So router is a property, and here we have one property available called middleware, and we want to name it auth because our file name is auth. If our file name was something, we would name it something like that. So now you have registered this middleware for every route because you have used it in your router property, and there you use this as a middleware. So this will run on every route. Whatever route you access, you will see you are trying to access this page contact.
Sure.
Okay, and now if you go to the home page, and then you will see that you are trying to access this page, which is slash, only slash, nothing else. If you go to about, then you will see that you are trying to access this page about. So you got the idea, right?
Yeah.
So in this is coming from odd.js, and before every route, this is running. But I want to run it now only in one specific page. In that case, I will not register it here.
Okay.
Okay. What we will do, we will go to our that file. For example, I want to register it for contact.p. So I want to run this middleware only when someone trying to access our contact page. In that case, what we will do is that we have a middleware property here, and we will register the auth middleware like this. So this is an array, which means that you can actually add as many middleware as you want.
Okay. Yes.
Do you understand? So you are not bound to use only one middleware. Now, if you go to the about page, you will see that nothing is getting printed. But if we try to go to contact page, sorry, the spelling mistake. Contact page, again, spelling mistake. Contact page. Then we should see that middleware being printed, but we haven't seen that. Maybe we made some kind of mistake, or we didn't. Middleware, I think we have spelling mistake. Yeah. You are trying to access this page contact. Okay. So how we can route now? We can guard one page now. For example, that if you will say that if route dot path is equal to /contact, then what we want to do is we want to use a store.commit. We want to do something in the store. Then we can actually do that, and let me see the context object one more time. That we want to navigate to another page. Redirect. We have something called redirect, as you can see. So what we will do is that we will bring that redirect from here, and we will redirect the user to home page. Yeah. So if somebody tries to access our contact us page, we are back to home page. So now if we go to contact again, we are again back to the. But if we go to about, then we will be able to access about page. So for example, you think that about page is for everybody, anybody can see this page, but contact page is for only for the admin. Then we could actually write something like if echo and then user dot and then user dot type is equal to admin. Well, equal to not equal to admin, then go back to home page. We could write something like that. You just suppose that this user is coming from your database or your API.
Yeah.
Like that.
Okay. Yeah. Carry on.
Okay. So for example, that const user, you are getting your user from your store dot state dot user. So you have saved your user in your store, and now you have that user available in your application. So you are checking whether your user type is admin or not. If it is not admin, then you are redirecting your user to the the viewer to the home page, like that. So this is the example how you can use middleware effectively in your application.
You would need a database for that admin, isn't it?
This should come from the database. So for example, that on your home page or on your layout page, you are calling your database or your API and then bringing this user. Okay. And then you are saving it in your store.
Yeah.
So now you want to run this middleware and you want to access this user from the store, and then you want to check whether this user type is admin or not. And if
Okay.
it is not admin, then you will redirect the user to your home page
Sure.
in case
Sure.
of contact page only, not for every page, but only for the contact page, like that.
Sure. Wonderful.
Yeah, so I normally, this is a very good example of using middleware, but you can use middleware for many different cases. For example, if somebody is trying to access one specific page, then you want to save something in your database that this user or this at that time of the day this page was accessed. You want to save that part in your database, then you can actually make a commit from here,
Yeah, understood. I've seen this before in the because I've been using Laravel for admin and auth for registration and email, and I've seen this middleware auth thing. That's why I thought to understand.
Well, in programming languages and frameworks, naming convention are very similar.
Yeah.
That what Laravel uses for authentication, they call it auth. Maybe .NET framework also call it auth. Nuxt also call it auth. So the programmers actually try to use similar kind of names for a specific,
Yeah,
specific
by
purpose.
convention. Yeah.
By convention. Yeah, correct.
Okay. That was excellent today.
Today, actually, the topics were a little bit hard to explain, but I tried my best to explain it to you as easily as possible,
No,
and I hope that you understood.
I have understood, and it has been really good. Like I said, now I'm practicing difficult things to understand. And
Correct.
when I say, okay, if you taught me deployment on a shared server next week, instead of Nuxt 3, if we go through deployment, do I need to do anything?
No, you don't need to do anything.
So
I will show you how you should do it, and I can show you from my computer perfectly, no problem.
Yeah, but if I did a dummy on my server, if I did a
subdomain like that,
subdomain, you could use it to show me how.
Yeah,
so
sure, no problem. Yeah, if you want to do that, we can do that.
Yeah, because the other thing, I'll just tell you what A2 hosting, A2 hosting.
Yeah, A2 hosting.
Because you need to install I'm not sure what they said, but they said I need to install Node.js on the server. And
no. In A2 hosting, if you don't have a VPS means virtual private server. So if you have a VPS, then you can run a Node application easily.
Okay, I don't have. It's a shared hosting.
If it's a shared hosting, then you have to do it static. I mean, you have to make a static build of your website, and then you have to use that static build in your shared hosting, and that's really easy. So you don't have to worry about that at all. I will show you how to do it. But when you build your application, in that time you have to keep in mind that your target deployment is static. So you have to make a few changes in your application so that you are preparing from the beginning, knowing that at the end you will have to deploy it in a static environment. You understand?
Yes.
So next week I will try to show you what kind of changes you should consider in your application for
so
this kind of.
What we'll do is upload this file onto the A2 hosting, and you'll show me how to do it.
Yeah, but before that we will also make some modification in our code so that it's ready for static deployment.
Is one tutorial enough?
Yeah, no problem. I mean, in 1 hour we will be able to do all of that. No problem.
Okay.
I just have to show you a few points which you have to keep in mind when you are building your application. So you will deploy your application at the end. So maybe it will be 1 month, 2 months, 3 months later. But when you are building the application, I mean when you are developing this application, then you have to keep a few things in your mind that your target deployment is static. You are not going to use a VPS for deploying this application.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what are those things that I will show you in our next
Sure.
deployment lecture.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you very much.
It's always a pleasure for me.
You are wonderful. It's no, it's enjoyable. Thank you very much,
Yeah.
and I'll speak to you next week.
Yeah, sure. So you practice, and if you are stuck with something, just let me know. I'm always available there, and I wish you all the best for this week.
The thing this week was mainly Laravel, so I knew I didn't need to send you.
No problem, no problem. Don't worry.
Yeah.
If you are stuck with Nuxt or something like that, then you just ask
Definitely.
me. Maybe I will not reply immediately, but I will try to reply you within 24 hours.
I was struggling with Vuetify, and I thought, should I ask you Vuetify? And then I thought, for me to learn Vuetify, waste of time.
Yeah, I also think the same. I think you can achieve everything what Beautify offers with Tailwind CSS or with similar kind of solution.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Only problem is if you I downloaded a Vuetify file from GitHub. You can't convert Vuetify to Bootstrap or Tailwind. You can't, because
no,
everything
you have to use Beautify.
Yeah.
Directly, you have to use Beautify.
Yeah. I spent almost a day trying to sort it out, and then in the end, I thought it's a waste of time.
Let me show you something. I have built only one website using Beautify so far, and that is this one. So this is the only website I have built using Beautify today until now, and this was in my very early days of web development. So by the way, this is me.
Wow.
The right side. Yeah. So this was the website that I built using Beautify. All the components that you see here are actually Beautify components.
Oh. It looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the only project I actually used Beautify in, and that's a long time ago. So I have actually forgotten what kind of things are there available in Beautify.
I don't think I only came across it because I downloaded a GitHub clone. And
I understand.
Okay. Thank you very much. I enjoyed this thoroughly. I'll speak to you next week.
Likewise. Yeah, we will talk next week. You have a nice week ahead.
Yeah. Speak to you
Bye.
soon.
Take care.
Bye.
Yeah.